Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Fully Corked. You might notice something different today. I am actually in person with my co-host, Charlie. And for those of you who don't know, my name is John, and welcome. We're doing something new here, Charlie. What do you think?
I think it's good. I'm excited to see if the in-person chemistry helps me identify some notes here in our bottle today. And we've got quite a story, as you can tell if you're viewing. We got the metal, we got the finish, all sorts of ups and downs throughout. So excited to get into it after the blind taste test.
Hell yeah.
All right. So do you want to introduce the bottle?
Yes, I will. So this is a special bottle from last week's Fan of the Week. Andy, my brother, he got Charlie and I a Chardonnay from CJ McCollum, all-star on the New Orleans Pelicans. Basically started a wine label, bought a bunch of acres up in, I believe it's the Wilmette Valley, which is a solid place for wine. And as it just so happens, it is Charlie's turn to do the blind tasting. So we have had a few Chardonnays on the pod.
I'm firing down some notes right now. I'm actually I feel good. I feel good about one for sure. It's a cop out on just the general Chardonnay thing, but I'm gonna take one more sip and get into it. If you have anything to say in the interim, please do.
Yeah, I mean, let me try to add a little more color to this. Brand new vintages, like this is super recent out of CJ McCollum. He said wine is his passion. When Andy gave this to me, it came with like all these cue cards. It like gave a whole bunch of information. I'm not remembering any of it right now, but I have had CJ McCollum's Pinot Noir. It was fantastic. I have very high hopes for this wine. This is a nicer bottle of Chardonnay. It's a low amount of cases produced, meaning it's relatively rarer wine. I think that's just because it's the early vintages. But this will set you back about $50. So what was that last Chardonnay we had? Was it
That was big churn. That would have been a maybe $7 bottle. So
yeah, and it tasted
significantly less premium.
Tasted like a $2 bottle. That shit was bad. So here we go. This is like the complete opposite end of the spectrum. I would be surprised if you find a Chardonnay that's much more expensive than this. I mean, this is top of the line here.
All right, with that, I'm ready to venture. I'm not sure if you've got your notes pulled up, but written down. All right,
I got my notes on the back of a parking ticket
that I got earlier today. So, great. So first out of the gate, I got to go with a classic, a favorite, something that we've identified or attempted to identify in all whites. Green apple, got to be in there, right?
Oh,
no green apple?
You're so close. Okay, there might be a different color apple that you're looking for.
Red apple? I mean, like, what are the other colors?
Yellow apple.
Yellow apple. Oh, okay. So I got other fruit ideas. I was coming into this just before we started recording. I was saying, I got to think of a stone, a mineral of some kind, an herb, flower of some kind, and a fruit. But all I'm coming up with right now is fruits. I don't know if there are other major fruit flavors, but the two I would throw out are lemon and grapefruit.
So Meyer Lemon Zest is the number one in here. Nice work. Right, I'm giving you Meyer Lemon. No grapefruit. They only gave 3 tasting notes on this thing. And the third is
Wait. Let me attempt the third. Is it gettable?
No.
All right, give me one hint. Give me the category. I got to throw out a guess.
I don't even know. I think flower is potentially the category.
All right, let's go with hibiscus.
Jasmine blossom.
Ooh, close.
Yeah. I
mean, so those are the only 3 notes. No mineral for us.
They gave us jack shit other than those 3. Now we can look on the back of the bottle here.
No tasting notes on the back of the bottle. I will say though, I failed to identify the color of apple, but kind of first few sips, first half of a glass, I am enjoying it. Andy, thank you for the bottle. it is certainly a departure from what we've been drinking. I feel,
Fucking
it's
gasoline,
like,
that big churn was.
So, I'm enjoying it thus far. Finish is longer, I think.
This has a deeply lingering finish. It lingers for days, Charlie. This is great. This is a very, very solid Chardonnay. For those of you that have the ability to access some of this CJ McCollum Chardonnay, go ahead and get yourself a bottle. It's solid.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, excited to kind of work through it. I think for the most part in these pods, we've at least of late in the marathon training, I've had a glass, like a one light glass. And I think, to celebrate the moment, we got a nicer bottle. I wouldn't mind having a couple glasses, getting a little loose. I know you've got dinner plans, so hopefully, that doesn't interfere with that or being
Charlie, it's well earned. It actually is pretty fitting that our nicest bottle we've tasted on this pod is coming on the heels of a marathon victory.
yes.
Technically, you win a marathon if you finish it, right?
Well, if you finish it first, which, I don't think I was quite there. But the other thing that's good about this is after the marathon, I had a couple drinks right after, but didn't make it back into town as I was planning to, because at that point, my cousins, shout out to them, had put me up in their place. And the idea of going back up and then when we returned back down their staircase was so off-putting that we just called it and said we're staying in the basement.
Just because your legs were on fire,
they were
shot,
destroyed, and like every part of the lower body chain was obliterated.
Oh my God. So, I mean, obviously it didn't start out that way. So like, and I've never even lied about running that much. Like, I think the longest I've ever ran in my entire life is about 3 miles. So like, walk me through like what's going through your head pre-marathon. Like, do you get nerves like you would in a sporting event? Like, you're nervous? Like, are you excited? Is the energy good? Like, just walk us through the atmosphere.
Yeah, so I would say contrary to most sporting events, I didn't come in with like a I'm here to win mentality. It was like I'm here to do as good as I can do, and like, but I felt really good about the prep. I mean, I had mentioned on the pod 2 weeks earlier a bit of a setback on the knee. My right knee was having some pain after the 20 miler, and then again after the 12 miler. So in the 2 weeks leading up to it, I really didn't run much. The only time I ran was with this brace I purchased for the marathon. So even net all of that, I knew I had done the training, done as much as I could, and so I was feeling really good actually. So marathon day, we were up at 5 a.m., slam a bunch of food, have some coffee,
You said you were carbo loading with fruit last pod. So
yeah,
did you have a nice
it ended
amount
up
of
being
fruit?
a lot more pasta. But it was, yeah, we got some fruit too, like a lot of apples, a lot of bananas, watermelon. But yeah, so we were up at 5. It was threatened to be canceled due to like thunderstorm activity, like lightning, because that's just dangerous. But that did not occur. But it was raining, and so we get to this bus drop off. They do not allow you to have like your family friend Uber drop you off at the starting line. And so we went to the bus stop, which is just a huge line, and it's raining at this point. And so we're waiting to load the bus. We're kind of like nervously chatting with people, but really like the nerves weren't really there yet. It was like good vibes, kind of just trying to pass the time, try to get to the starting line. But all the while, your shoes are getting soaked in the rain.
No. The most important and maybe only piece of equipment you actually have and rely on.
Yeah, so that was kind of a little frustrating. Then I had a guy on the bus who had run a few marathons. He started talking to me and my partner saying, in this type of condition, this type of rain, it's best to run with toe socks, which I didn't even know existed outside of like somebody's sick fantasy. And so I'm sitting there like, don't tell me about how I should be wearing
Are
toe
these
socks
like
right
those creepy like toe shoes?
yes, but in sock form, because I had the only thing I could imagine that would create a benefit for is maybe like toe to toe chafing, but I feel like that would be worse. So anyway, this creep is talking to us, and it's very frustrating. We get off at the starting point. One of the things that was funny on the ride there is we see the half marathon runners who started before, and we're like, okay, so this is at earliest 13 13 miles from where we need to go. And then we drove another 20 minutes. So it was like, you're kind of getting in your head, like, this is going to be kind of like a longer run. I mean, you know that coming into it, but it was like, holy shit, we were on the buses for a while.
I think I saw on your Strava or something, like, it basically starts, let's just call it north, and you just basically run along what lake is that? Superior? You run
Lake
along Lake
Superior.
Superior the whole way down into Duluth, correct?
Correct. So you start in Two Harbors. You take really like the whole way. You take Scenic Highway 61. You're right on the water, which was really good. Like the forecast minus the rain could not have been better. Like 55 degrees. But as we get into the race, I'll describe how this kind of backfired on me. So anyway, we're at the starting line. Like everybody's in line for the bathrooms. We actually did not start running until 15 minutes after the marathon started because we learned your official time doesn't start until your bib crosses. They have like a magnetic tracker. And so naturally we're behind, which kind of felt good because these first couple miles, you're passing everybody because it's, the people who started on time and are still like in mile one when you start 15 minutes late are going so slow that, we're passing a lot of people. We're feeling good.
Are those people that are starting like minutes before you too? Like,
Yes. Yeah.
it's not just
So,
some person pacing off of a 15-minute mile. That would
yeah.
be crazy.
Yeah, and like, so I mean, really, people starting at different times, but all to say, at the beginning, morale was super high because my thought process on this was, I did my 20 miler at like a 9:30 pace. So my thought was, if I drop it to like a 9:45, 9:50, hopefully that gets me to 26, no issues. And so I'm starting slow, but I'm still passing a lot of people. I don't feel taxed in my muscles or aerobically anything. So I'm feeling great. The first few miles, nothing really to report other than it was cool to run with so many people. There's 10,000 people. And so to run in a group like that, like you're getting energy. There wasn't people on the sidelines at that point that early, but it was really, really good vibes for like, probably I'd say like the first 8 miles.
I think I asked you, but what did you choose to go with for music or podcasts or just media consumption? Or did you go bareback?
No bareback. This was a setback for me because I was planning on listening to podcasts and I also had a playlist I would have liked, but because it was raining like really right away, I clicked the wrong podcast and then we were like kind of had to go and so I couldn't alter it. I get my phone
What do
out.
you mean the wrong podcast?
I clicked on an episode I had already listened to of this podcast. And so I was like jacking around with my phone, but it was like soaking wet. And so then I like just got to my liked song library. So like 3,000 songs in no playlist fashion and just hit shuffle. And that was the best I could do. And so it
Oh
was like
no.
not at all a catered playlist. It was kind of fine because I could just skip stuff, but not ideal at all. So that was kind of, the first of many missteps throughout the marathon. Just let's talk very quickly about equipment that was going on out there. So I was running with a race belt that can hold. So had my AirPods in there. I had an outrageous amount of in race fuel. So like goo packets, like stuff that's just like pure carbs.
Oh, those are awesome. Where you just like rip them, suck them down. You
Yeah.
just throw
Yeah. And so
them.
this
Get
was,
some worker to pick it
well,
up.
at
Like,
first I was putting them in my pocket because it felt bad to like litter them. But then like the race course is covered in like water cups and other people's goo and like other stuff like that.
you're just weighing yourself down with your big pockets now,
Dude.
full of goo.
And so for the people out there who have run in races or marathon, I erred on the side of caution with my goo count. I brought 8 goos, which is like an obscene amount. Like you would never need that amount of goo, unless you were running like 52 miles.
Are these electrolytes or like what is in these things?
So they're just pure carbs and like electrolytes. Mine were like double electrolytes. My biggest worry going into the race, other than the knee, was cramping because like when I had run my 20 miler or longer runs, I'd have some cramp issues like after mile 17, 18. And I figured I have more in race fuel every 3 miles. They had like Powerade, water, occasionally bananas, things to stop you from cramping. So I was like, this is not going to be an issue. And that's where I was wrong, listeners, because we get to, well, actually, so the three people I was running or that I knew who were also running the race started at a faster clip. I lose them in the first 3 miles. Like they just disappear into the pack ahead of me. And so I run into one of my buddies at mile 12, and he is fully stopped off of the racetrack, like stretching his calves, like trying to uncramp
No,
himself. So this is
not good for the morale. Mile 12.
mile 12, so 14 miles to go of cramp running, and his cramps were terrible. I mean, they started bad and got worse. It was the toe cramps that like make your feet ball up like that, so impossible to run on when you're cramping like that. Then he was getting like calf cramps, like pretty much like any cramp you can get, he was having. We were running together for a little bit at that point.
I mean, was he even running, or was he like hobbling and limping? Mile 12?
Yeah, but yes, so he was he was kind of like, doing like I guess I'd call it like a zombie jog, because that's how I felt I was. Because mile 14 for me is when my quads and hammies started cramping. And so it was the same thing. Me and him are just in hell. It's like you're thinking to yourself, how could this happen? We made every preparation. We ate a shitload of food. We have as much fuel as you could need. I don't know. The weather was good. I mean, maybe the rain increased the humidity enough where, sweating more than you think you are. But it really doesn't make sense to me, because I ran in hotter weather with less fuel and cramped later or less. And so really, like, for both of us, we're staring on the barrel of the second half of the marathon just fully running with cramped
That is
legs.
kind of weird too, because it's not like you did anything different. Like it's not like nerves would make you cramp up, and you're setting the same pace that you've set in every practice run. So it has to be the
slower
weather.
for me,
Even
slower.
slower.
He had gone faster in those first 10 miles, but I really don't think that's what caused him to cramp. I'm not sure what it was, because our other two buddies or three buddies who were running didn't have like cramp issues. So maybe it's hard to say exactly. Maybe we just suck.
Was he also sucking down goo packets?
He was sucking down goo too, but not at the clip I was, because I'd actually, because I had so many, I took one before the race, which is like of little to no value. And then because I was like, I just don't want to be weighed down like this. Like I'm sucking down one of these goos now, and then one every like 30 to 45 minutes. The thing people warn you about with this goo consumption is it's like not great on your stomach. Like people, if you have a couple goos, all odds point to you're gonna have to shit during the marathon and like take a break to find a porta potty and do that.
So going into it, you knew this. You knew the risks.
I knew the risks. And I'm gonna fast forward a little bit here. We'll get to all the dirty details, but I had all 8 of my goos, which is like an unbelievably too much amount of goo, because I was just like, I'm cramped to shit. Like I'm at all these aid stands. I felt like an asshole too, because they have like lines of volunteers who are handing out water and Powerade and stuff, and I'm like grabbing like 3 waters, 3 Powerades. And dude, actually, you would love this. One of the first aid stands, I like botched the handoff with the person, and so this Powerade on my shoes are already like pretty much soaked, but the Powerade falls right on top of my shoe and just splashes my sock and shoe, and I'm just like, God damn it.
Did you like an audible, let out an audible like, ah?
No, I was very Minnesotan about it. I was like, my bad. But it wasn't great. But yeah, I mean, all the fueling was going good. And so mile 14, I start cramping. I'm doing some like, you never want to be doing math in your head when you're doing these marathons, but I'm like, or like even running a long distance, because I immediately thought, if I was running at pace, which I can no longer do because I'm double cramped and my knee's probably about to go too, I've got a minimum of like just under 2 hours to go right now. And so,
dude, I can't even believe this. Like real adversity there,
dude. And so we go 2 more miles with the cramping, and then the crowds are starting to like come up in mile 16, which is good. It's good energy. I'm starting to think every mile that goes down, you're 1 mile closer, just keep going. But like the zombification of my running form got quite a bit worse on mile 16, because that's when not my right knee that was worrying me, but my left knee, probably because it was overcompensating, started kind of suffering the same fate as my right knee had. So I no longer really could stop at aid stations. Like I had to keep running because the motion of going from a halt to starting my run was like so sharply painful in my left knee that I was like, I don't know how many times I can stop and start again, because it's just like unbearable.
So it was super painful to be running, but like you just can't let the muscles,
The the the
tendons,
the,
whatever relax.
the
Like,
running was somehow less painful than starting. Like the kick off was way worse. I mean, like it all hurt, but it was like a blessing and a curse, because you can't stop, or I felt I couldn't stop, which is good for the time, but it's also like I want to drink Powerade and like try and bring these cramps down. So it was kind of disastrous, because it's not like I knew in my head I wasn't going to be able to run for the last 10 miles straight too, just given the circumstances. So yeah, that was certainly a big issue. And you know, my peer who I was running with had it, you know, I mean, his cramps, I think the cramps were bad for me. What was worse was that knee pain. And for him, his cramps were so debilitating, he'd have to pull off like, call it once a mile to like uncramp himself.
and is it kind of like a save yourself? I mean, you can't stop, right? Like, is it like go on without me and I'll catch up, or are you kind of like,
So what had happened was mile 12 is when I first saw him cramping. We're running together for, call it, maybe 2-ish more miles. He actually had like a little second wind, so he had gotten ahead of me, because again, I was just trying to stick to that pace. Then I found him again mile 17, same situation. Like he's pulled off to the side, like he really like can't run. And it's I do not say that at all to like discredit anything he's doing. I mean, like I'm trying to say that to demonstrate like the pain he's in. Like he literally,
yeah,
this dude has the heart of an absolute warrior. He does not pull off unless something is absolutely fucked up and wrong. And so like to see this multiple times, it's like you're rooting for him, but I also know I can't stop. So when I see him, I'm like, I got to keep going. You know, you'll probably see me again. Like I'm close to system failure. So like
oh
you'll
my
see me type
God.
thing.
So, did you ever consider like walking, or does that not matter? Like, is
I
it still super painful?
So the walking was less painful, but my worry with that is after my 20 miler, I ended like 2 miles from home. So I walked home and everything like seized up. I didn't want that to happen. It's not to say I didn't walk like I did, particularly like I could not run downhill. Like I had to walk downhill because it was like
I know that pain.
just,
I got that
yeah,
after 3 miles. Like, it's like I don't know the technical jargon, but like IT bands or something in your shins, just like screaming. I
it
guess your knees were
it's
just.
completely unacceptable on the knee to run downhill. So downhills I'd walk, or like steeper downhills. But anyway, so I maybe passed him again around like mile 17 or 18, and I didn't see him again until the finish line.
Did you ever think I'm 8 miles away from my end goal at
I could
mile
not
18? I mean, that doesn't even compute to me.
I could not stop thinking about that. Like it was just like every mile, like I kind of would forget exactly where I was, which was good, because like I just don't want to be thinking about like, well, I got 80 minutes to go. So there was like,
Are you still shuffling like your songs too, like your catalog of 3,000 songs? Like all of a sudden you get some throwback Fall Out Boy, and you're like, oh, fucking turn this shit off.
there was like really, it did me no favors. The only thing I liked was the song I got as I was going to the finish line, Valentina by Daniel Caesar. That was a good one. It's not even really a running song, but I was like, I at least like this song. Okay, so I mentioned the goo consumption because, so pretty much by like mile 22, I'm in hell. I've had all my goos, which is like an unhealthy, like shit your pants 10 times amount of goo. But I also have not gone to the bathroom at all. And so I guess I
Oh
got lucky.
no.
Like this is like doesn't really have a punchline. Like I did not go to the bathroom during the marathon at all. So I kind of got lucky with that, because our buddy who had a much better finish went to the bathroom 3 times from like, and he probably only had like 4 goos.
Are we talking number two?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
I'm just, dude, and is it all just porta potties?
Yeah,
And
it's
I'm
all porta
imagining
potties.
anybody going in there is just like they're just trying to get in and out as fast as possible. Imagine cramping up in a porta potty.
Well, dude, so that's another reason why I was like, there was definitely moments where my stomach was upside down, but I was like, I can't do this because it's similar to like why I didn't want to walk, even though running was like hardly any faster at that point. It's just like I don't want my muscles to like give up on me more than they have, and like I just didn't like that idea, and so I was trying to make it, which I did, I guess, without going to the bathroom. But
So we're still at mile 18, 20,
yeah,
et cetera. Are you having any positive thoughts, or are you just in like survival mode right now? Like, were you ever able to like take yourself out and just be like, I'm running a marathon and I'm like, 75% of the way. Like, this is sick.
so yes, there absolutely was positive thoughts. I'm happy you bring that up. Like, I think the I had a lot of people reach out to me morning of and day before, like wishing me well, and I also had people who were there who were supporting me. Unfortunately, they were at mile 24, so it's like they're seeing like the absolute worst thing they can see. But it
A
was,
shell of a
yeah,
human
just
in the
like
sunken place. I'm picturing like dark purple eyes. Like,
broken man, like could barely walk, yet he's continues to jog, and it's almost closer to like a trot, like just like a horse that's like going to be put down right after this, like just in a dark place. But it was like when I was feeling like really shitty about it, like both the people supporting like random people, but more so really throughout the training and on race day, like the people who had reached out, I'd think about that and just be like, they didn't wish me well for me to go into the medical tent on mile 18 and say it's over. Like I need to finish it. And like there was some like emotional piece of that too, because it was, you put in a lot of time and effort and it really was not going how I wanted it to go. Like between like the injury and like the cramping, it was very discouraging. But I kind of came back to like the support people had for me. I have to keep going, and for them, but also for myself. Like I didn't go there to not finish.
and were you consistently surrounded with people too? Like, were there always runners around you, even if you were falling back or speeding up? Like, was it just kind of consistently a good group of people that just like you could like almost like watch somebody in front and just be like, that's my guy that I'm following?
Yeah, so there was always people, but it wasn't always people like I was thrilled to be around, because
Oh no.
once the body failed, so they give you stats on the website that's like miles 1 0 through 3, you passed this many people passed you. And so for like the first 13 miles, really until I started cramping, I think, I don't know, like off the top of my head, but you pass literally like 10 to 20, 30x the amount of people who pass you. And then the body fails and these numbers just flip in a freakish way. And in the last, in from miles 23.9 to the finish line, I passed 5 people, 91 people passed me. And before that, like I want to say 20 to like 24ish, I'm pretty sure it was like I passed 20 people and like 600 people passed me. And so then my group was like similar people, old people whose bodies are just totally like destroyed, and like super like out of shape people, and like that was my peers at that point. And so
That
it was like kind of,
sucks,
that was
dude.
kind of
That's like
discouraging
not
too.
you either. Like you're in shape, you just cramped up. Wow, we got to get to the bottom of these cramps. What the hell? Was it in the pasta dinner? The
I
pasta
can't
breakfast?
I I don't know what it was. I mean, it's hard to say. In 15 years, when I forget the pain of this marathon and try another one, maybe I'll find out then. But it's hard to say. I'm not sure, but I know we've been going on this for a while, so I'll try and wrap it up. I got a couple more shocking things to share.
Oh.
So mile 24 is where my cousins and also like my buddy and his fiance, or now wife, were there like supporting us, and or support yeah supporting us. So I get there, I see them, it's a huge boost, and I'm like trying to like run, but I'm like running like a zombie jackass. And this other buddy had run the half earlier that day, so he's running with me for a little bit. And super good for the vibes. And at that point, really at no point in the marathon did I feel aerobically taxed, like out of breath, particularly when the body started to fail. Cause it's like, I can't run hard. So I'm not out of breath. So that was really nice because I was just like talking to him, I was helping pass the time. And he was also like, you need to go. Like, you need to hurry up because if you want to, like, just on a time basis.
I feel like having that is huge because, like, everything in your brain is telling you just take it easy. It's nice to have somebody that's like actually pushing you there. Like, I get that feels cruel almost, but like that, I feel like that's a savior and like what you needed to just keep moving forward.
For sure. And like to see them there, even if it's only for like a tenth of a mile, that powered me more than that, and it was at a point where I like really thought I had nothing left to give. So that was huge. But actually I missed one thing. So mile 22 is when really the final curveball of this day filled with curveballs occur. So it's raining. I'm, at that point had been running for hours. I'm sweating. I had mentioned on this podcast I had nipple chafing issues, but a new chafe reared its ugly head. Got any guesses at this chafe?
Oh my God. I mean, inner thighs.
No. Cover your ears, younger listeners. My dick started chafing.
No. What?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
How?
So, I mean, it's because it's on the fabric, like.
Were you wearing wool?
No, I was wearing compression shorts and like athletic shorts, but I think.
Dude, that sounds so painful.
It was, and I felt like a creep too, because this is at a point where the roads are lined with people, and I'm like fishing around with like my junk to try and like stop the pain. But it's like pain's coming at me from every direction, and then this starts happening, and I'm like, dude, this blows. Like, this is such an issue.
I'm picturing you like running like with your pant, like holding your pants out. Like, the only way to alleviate chafing for those that have never chafed somehow, you just have to take whatever it is and remove it from your body. Like, that's the only way to make it feel better at all.
and that was not an option for the last 4 miles. So
you
it was
just have like double
added
hands in your pockets, like holding it out, or like
no, dude. I was like shifting around, but like you feel like you feel like a weirdo. Like there's like a photographer, all eyes are on you. Like, so that was an issue as well. It was just, but added to the list. I mean, like at least that didn't stop me from running. It just was like,
how did that not stop you from running, dude? That is such an acute pain. Like, that is such a concentrated, like, oh my God. I mean, the family jewels, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, it was not pleasant, but and it totally existed for the last 4 miles, which are my slowest 4 miles. Like, I can't even run, and like, yeah, that was brutal too. And so now we fast forward. We're like,
wait, can we get our hands on these marathon photos? I mean, did you?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna buy the pack. Like, they send you. I think I have 45 photos. There's no photos of me like grabbing at my junk. But
oh, you've seen them. You've vetted these.
I've seen them. But there are some good ones. Maybe we'll throw something out there. But so yeah, then we get to the finish line. I'm looking all over the place for my dad. So I see, dude, this was like one other just like, what the fuck. So this pack I'm with, as I've told you, it's not where I want to be with like these other people. And some of these people in like the final 100 meters are like full sprinting into the finish line. And I'm like, it's just frustrated by that because I'm like, I can't move right now at all. Like, my legs have given up completely. And it just frustrates me that, like, to each their own in the running. But if you had that much horsepower, why are you able to full sprint for the finish line? But neither here nor there.
But they weren't cramping. Like, they were running your pace you were running without, I guess, hindrances, right?
I suppose.
No chafing issues. I mean,
well, who knows what they were dealing with? Maybe they were having some of the same issues, but maybe less cramping, because you can't full sprint on a cramp. You just fall over.
Dude, so do you have to... I've never cramped while sprinting. Again, not a runner. But, like, do you have to fully like massage out the cramp or like get it completely out before you start running again? Because like I know when I do get cramps, like they persist.
Yeah.
So do you at some point just be like, this sucks, but I have to keep running through it? Or do you go and like massage yourself on the sidelines, like try to like roll it out, whatever, and then get back to it for the, I don't know, 20 minutes that you can go crampless before it happens again?
So I think it depends on the cramp, but in my case, it was like they they never left. I didn't think it would. I mean, I knew it wasn't going to get better if I stopped and like rolled it out or did anything. And so it was really what it did is it just altered the way I could run because I was just changing it so that I'm not my hip flexor kind of like locked up too, but not like moving my feet very much off the ground. It was closer to like a shuffle than like a jog, but the hammies were of the cramps like the bigger issue because and that's really what like the between that and like the knee pain downhill is just impossible because when you have to hit the brakes, I got nothing in the brakes, like I couldn't, and so I had to walk downhill. But I think my buddy, his were debilitating to the point where he could not move on them, so he had to pull off and like stretch them out.
Yeah, I mean, basically like a clubbed foot from what it sounds like.
Absolutely. He got it bad. I mean, just unfortunate stuff for the team, but so yeah, finish line, I see my dad. I give it my all in that final stretch. I remember one of my buddies took like a candid photo cuz he was already at the finish line, and the audio on it said it's me walking over him to him to give him nugs, and I say thank fucking god that I'm just finally done with this. And so it was awesome. I think had I known the amount of adversity I would face on that day, I would have never signed up, but I'm happy to have like even at didn't meet my goal time, didn't like achieve what I wanted to achieve in that sense, but I feel like, I am proud of what I did because it was so much harder than like I could have imagined it would be. Like both mentally, physically. I mean, mostly mentally. When you're running 4 miles with a chafe and like no legs, it's like kind of a it's hard. It's hard to keep going. Like you want to tap a little bit.
I want to
But it
see
was
this running form you had for the last like 3 or 4 miles.
dude,
I gotta
there's
imagine.
a video of there I think I could get my hands on two videos. There's one at the finish line, and then there's one that my cousin took that I don't have right now, but you'll be able to see the form. It's brutal. It's really brutal. Like,
Oh my
and
god.
but yeah, then we go through the finish line, yeah, get the medal, have a couple drinks, like couldn't walk downstairs. Like it was just pathetic the state I was in afterwards. Now it feels great to be done though. Like it was a huge test. Maybe in the future, I could have prepared better for it to have it go a little bit better.
I
But
feel like you prepared amply though. You like
yeah,
you were nursing an injury coming into it, which is unfortunate, but like beyond that, you stuck to your marathon regimen. You ran all the miles you were supposed to run. You did your long run. I guess say I want to run a marathon, which I absolutely do not after hearing all this.
yeah,
I'll prove things to myself in another way. But like,
yeah.
say I want to run a marathon. One, do you think it's like even physically possible to actually run 26 miles without training, run, not walk? And two, what would you have done differently with your training? Like if you were giving advice to me or a non-runner, like what would need to be different?
So I think two things. Like number one, I stopped lifting legs during the training because it just um made the long run so shitty. And that was like a big mistake, I think, because even in the training runs that were longer, my hamstrings, quads would cramp. And so, I mean, that kind of says to me like I didn't have the appropriate strength for my body weight to do it. And I guess the other piece of that was in the course of the training, I put on probably like 10 or 15 pounds, which nobody does. It's just like
What?
just
You were bulking
bad nutrition
bulking
throughout.
during marathon
Yeah.
training. That is wild.
And so, if I could go back and not do that, I probably would. I think, what was different though was my appetite was so much higher from running all these miles because usually I just lift and like play basketball, but that was like you need to have more of a runner's body. Like to be leaner would have helped me a lot, I think.
Well, maybe that is my calling then. I'm pretty lean, Charlie. My brother keeps trying to get me to do the marathon,
San
but
Francisco Marathon.
do you know how much undulation there is? Like,
Undulation.
oh yeah,
What
word,
is
word of the day.
give me a
Think
definition.
rolling hills.
Oh,
Undulations like
God.
up and down. Like you start and end at the Golden Gate. They basically have you run through the city, and like right when you get off the Golden Gate, as you basically have to just ascend up. Like
For the last stretch or like multiple?
I think the final stretch. I don't know which way it's ran. But like you visited me and you know Marina Green, like that is flat. I don't know if that's the beginning or the end, but like the other side of that, like you run flat on Marina Green, but that you can only enter the Golden Gate or exit the Golden Gate that way once to complete your full, like it looks like a rectangle. So then the other way you enter the Golden Gate is like very, very, very steep hills. And they probably set it up so that that happens at the start of your run before you're just like absolutely dying. But
The
that
downhills are worse though, I think. I mean, my
well,
buddy.
same way because you'd be going downhill at the end. 'Cause, you know, you'd be running up the hill, which sucks. But if you're this would probably be mile 22, mile 21 of the run, and you're running down. Like this was literally what I was telling you when I was like, I ran to the Golden Gate Bridge, put my hands on like the "you did it" spot, and then like started to run back and got this like what's that thing called?
Phil's coffee.
No,
IT band.
IT band. Yeah. My IT band started flaring up and I basically had to walk the whole way back.
Hmm.
And then I had the haircut and I walked up
Yeah.
Fillmore Street, which is like, I think it's like 3 streets that's just straight up into the air.
Mhm.
I walked up okay. Coming down
It's
was
miserable.
about the most miserable, painful, horrible experience I think I've had to date. Like, just physical pain on my body that wasn't like an actual true injury. Like I was like, this is awful. And I can't imagine like they'd make you do that on mile 21 in the marathon.
No, and but maybe they would. I mean, like
It'd be kind of
it's out at,
sick. Like, well, I think it's a hard
and
marathon.
if you're like, if your body's right for it, downhills are great. Like, go grab some speed. You know, like if you can handle it at that point, sure, why not? I mean, I don't know.
I'd rather like army crawl or inchworm down that hill than than walk. I mean, literally walking down it. I think so. This specific walk is like a 30-minute jaunt. Like it's not nothing. I think it took me like an hour and a half to get home. Literally walking like what should have been a 30-minute walk. So it was just miserable.
Dude, the downhill thing too. So it's going to be impossible to explain this appropriately, but me and my partner got trapped in the aquarium parking lot the day before because it got blocked off for the 5K. And so that is like right at the end of the race, but it's not even like a steep downhill, but it was steep enough to prevent me from running down it. But you can see the finish line balloons at that point. But there's a few issues. One, the finish line is not right there. It's like they loop you all around Canal Park. And the other issue is all of these corners and like kind of like circular shit was impossible. I was like a Mack truck at that point, like taking like wide berths and like doing everything I could to not do any sort of lateral movement. It was like straight line is horrible. Anything else is impossible. And so like that, I mean, some obstacles at the finish line too, but to your point, like downhill when you don't have it in your legs, there's nothing worse. Like it's worse than uphill, I think. Cuz maybe it's just like I don't even know what muscle you need to go downhill. It's probably hamstrings, but I feel like my calves are probably stronger relative than my hamstrings.
Yeah,
And
I
so
mean, my hamstrings are weak as shit. Like
Mine
those
are
things
horrible, dude.
died on me after 3 miles. Like I don't even. I would have been one of those medical tent like send me. Oh, part of me just wants to fucking do this just to know that I can, but like I am so against running.
bro.
I'm
You
so
definitely
against
can.
running though. I think it's bad on your knees.
It is.
From what
It
I've
definitely
learned from
is.
like I have somebody that's a friend of a friend that is an orthopedic surgeon says that you should either be walking walking inclines or like sprinting. But he basically said that running is like one of the worst things you can do. It's like that repetitive
The
motion. It's
pounding.
the pounding of your
Yeah.
knees. Like, and I mean, you see these seasoned marathon runners, they've got like so much fucking gear hooked up to their knees. Like, I'm sure they've all had like hip replacements, knee replacements. Nothing against marathon runners, but it sounds miserable. Like, I don't get how this is the thing that you enjoy the most. Like,
I think I could understand it, I think, but it is, I mean, to me, the biggest roadblock between me and going and doing it again is I agree with that. Like it's just absolutely not good for my body. It could be like if you're 90% legs and have like no upper body weight, maybe that's like something that's more tenable. But for me, like, really, like when the other knee started going in like whatever mile 16, I was just like, this was so dumb. Like I know I'm going to feel this at least for the next week, but like maybe more. Like I'm hurting myself. I don't really have an option. I mean, you always have the option to stop, but like
no,
I
you
didn't
don't.
consider that.
No shot. Like, you
Dude,
got to power
one of
through.
my buddies went into the medical tent too, to just see if they had something, like anything to help with cramps, and all they had was Tylenol and Powerade. So it's like the medical tent is, and no disrespect to medical tent people, or I don't know how this goes at most marathons, but I'm happy I didn't stop for that. Just from like they've got nothing to really help you. Like,
Dude, that's kind
go,
of
here's
bullshit.
here's everything that you already have at the aid station. Like it's pretty much like it doesn't make sense. Like they're begging you to tap out, but they won't like give me like a topical
A
painkiller I can
shot
like
of
put on. Yeah,
cortisol. Like,
like
I always joke about this in the NBA when you see some guy just like get completely like wrecked midair, fall down, like it looks like they tore ACL, MCL, pulled a quad. They go into the medical tent and then they're out and they're like playing like Michael Jordan the next
yeah,
time they're out on the court. And like, you see this in football, you see this in hockey. Like, these medical tents got to step it up. I mean, Tylenol,
yeah,
come on.
dude. Which
What?
like, yeah, I mean, just totally insufficient for. I mean, it's, and I think the reason they have to do that type of thing is they can't. I mean, it's safe to give you something like that. I would have preferred something a little riskier. Not that I was ever in there, but I don't know. I would have been so pissed if I had stopped and done that because it does not meet the bar.
That's kind of respect to not go into the medical tent.
I
So
don't know
you
though
never went
too.
in once?
No. No, I think and I'm happy I didn't, not from like a, you're weak if you do, but more just like I just couldn't be tempted by any idea of like stopping, or because I knew, I mean, again, with like the running thing, if I stopped running, I was worried I couldn't start again. And so anything that like that, I was like, I need to get that out of my mind and just keep going.
The thing I'm realizing about marathons that like sucks mega ass is you're only competing against yourself. Like, people talk about that and you're kind of like, okay, yeah, like rah rah, like let me like pull this off. But that means that every single person is having like a quasi similar experience to you where like nobody is like just loving this. Like, even if you're setting a world record, like you're probably like kicking your ass to do it, and like it feels like most people are in this same boat. Like,
Yeah, no, I think that's probably right. And one of the things that was so different, bus guy, when we were on the ride over, said something that was absolutely awesome. And for all people who are considering a marathon, I actually found this to be relatively true. But he goes, first time running a marathon. I was like, yeah, yeah, excited, should be fun. And he goes, just remember, you get to the halfway point of the marathon at mile 20. Um, which is like so badass and mysterious, but it's true. It's like every mile when you're going beyond your training or like beyond where you're comfortable, it's that much more unknown. It's that much harder. You don't know what your body's going to do. And like, lucky for me, my body had already given up 6 miles before that point. But that's that was like a piece of like the frustration of it too, is it's like I'm not even breathing hard right now. Like I there was more to give, but it is unfortunate that my legs, like between the cramps and the knee issues, like I would have loved to been able to like run it, you know.
But
But
again, I
that's like
feel like,
I do think that is a preparation thing. Like if I
yeah.
had I think if I had kept with like some sort of leg strength routine or even like mobility, like things that help the small muscles, maybe I get further before that happens. But the really mysterious thing is for cramping to start that early when that never happened in training is like I don't know how to explain that.
The world may never know, Charlie. Like that is tough. And I mean, I see we're running up to time. I mean, this is a very fitting episode. It's a
Yeah.
marathon episode, one
Yeah.
topic. I love it. Can you show the listeners your medal? Pretty epic. He's also got the t-shirt on. I am fucking jealous. I at one point I did get my hands on like a Goodwill Iron Man shirt. Felt really cool in the gym wearing that.
Yeah. Dude, I feel like you know, you're not really looking at other people, but if I did catch that on somebody, I'd be like, this guy knows exactly what he's doing.
This guy's hard.
And also,
like,
the listener unfortunately can't see this. This does say first place, kind of in small font here. But you know, it's too bad you guys can't see it.
I got one final question, Charlie. So you've had a ton of support from your family, your friends. That's awesome. It's really exciting. Like I would have loved to have been there and had that post marathon drink with you. Maybe if we decide to run something together, we will.
Yeah.
Probably not ever because again,
if we do, we got to go short, like 10-mile, half marathon.
No. If I
10K.
do one, I will do the whole thing. I will not. You
What about
started
what
with
about like a
marathon.
5K?
I've done a 5K.
But I'm just saying I would do that again. A marathon is going to take some time before I like am willing to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not telling you I want to run a marathon, but I'm just saying.
Should we run the San Francisco with Andy?
Yeah. Fuck you, Andy.
Yeah.
But here's my last question. So, what is going through your head when you get your first like glimpse of alone time? Like the celebration's done.
Okay.
Like, what are like closing thoughts? You're alone for the first time. Like, you're actually like finally get to like dissect everything, like not just the bad but the good too. Like what are your like closing thoughts on running a marathon?
Yeah, I think the first thing that kind of came to my mind when I got back home and I was showering really was like a gratitude mindset, and mostly for the support of other people, but just certainly in part to be done with the task. Like there's a big weight off my shoulders, and it was a weight I put on my own shoulders, so it's like kind of hard to say like that's the greatest thing about it. But what was really cool was it's not like people who didn't reach out to me don't care about me, but the outpouring of support was like bordered on like surprisingly a lot. Like it was like cool that people thought it was like a really good, like a huge achievement, and like a huge, like recognizing the effort put into it felt really rewarding, because like all those training runs, like early nights where you go to bed on Friday at like a whatever 10 p.m. instead of going out so that you can like have a good long run.
Yeah, like
It felt like it was
sacrifices,
all
hours spent. I mean,
yeah,
wow.
like the recognition of that felt awesome. And like certainly the friends and family that did support all the way through, I mean, that was like the first thing in my mind when I was alone, was like I gotta I gotta let them know I finished, and two, like I gotta let them know I appreciate all that, because I mean there was so many moments of doubt on the track. Like it was like
I can
mean,
only
as
imagine.
described in the last 50 minutes, like it went it could have gone more sideways, but like in terms of what I was expecting versus what happened out there, it went pretty damn sideways. Like it's harder than I thought.
God, that's crazy.
But it's cool to be done and be like, yeah,
You did it. You ran a
Yeah.
freaking marathon.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, like nobody can take that from you. You got your medal, you got your shirt. like that's what I want to do it
It's
for.
like
is
the grandma's
hardware.
officials reach out and put out a statement. Charles Elliott has been revoked. His marathon medal has been revoked for doping.
No. Dude, think about how pissed Lance Armstrong was.
Dude, oh god, yeah. So, are you familiar with like kind of his career and then the doping?
Dude, he got fucked. As far as I'm concerned, like, I get that he doped, but it sounds like a lot of bikers were doping. This dude literally got cancer and then came back. I know nothing about his career. I just know
Me
he got,
neither. But he was blood doping, right?
I don't know,
I
dude.
could
I
have
don't know
used a
anything.
transfusion out
I
there.
will never talk shit about Lance Armstrong because that dude literally was
American
like
hero.
American hero. He's top of his sport in cycling, which is like, I have to imagine even worse in
It's
the
pure
amount of
quads,
hours.
dude. Like, just imagine the fire there. I mean, it's that is also. I mean, somebody was saying to me, I was on the phone earlier today, and they were like, "Congrats on the marathon! Like, you thinking about a triathlon? Like, should we do a triathlon?" And I was like, "No, like, absolutely not." I kind of came to the conclusion anything where I'm exercising or competing for more than like 3.5 hours straight is probably not good unless I have like a huge body transformation or something. And so it's funny, like, because there's a piece that feels like a little what's next, after doing this. And so I kind of do have an idea of what I want to do. You might like this actually. You could do it with me.
What do you got, Charlie?
So this is going to be embarrassing to admit this to the listeners, but I don't really know how to ski.
Oh,
So
I would like this.
I want to get like an epic pass. I want to go, once the knees are healed, if they heal, go out there, ski, learn how to do it. I'm like the worst Minnesotan ever. I can't skate. I put my left leg down and kick off my right foot. I never learned how to skate. I can't snowboard. I can't ski. So the winter like sucks. And so I want to learn how to ski. I want to have fun with it. And so that's one of the things
every step of the
I'm
way.
thinking about.
Me and you will ski together.
Yeah,
That
let's do
sounds
it.
epic.
There's Epic Pass mountains that are in California too.
Yeah, why Epic Pass though?
I don't
Why
know.
not
That's
Icon? That's the one
you
that
tell
has
me.
Tahoe.
I don't know anything.
That has
I don't know
Tahoe.
anything. Do you own skis?
Yeah, I've rented. I
Can I
rented for
borrow
the
them?
first 2 years. No, I just that was a recent purchase for me. But the first thing you buy is boots because you break them in like to your specifications, and then skis really the only reason to own them if you're not a true diehard that like can tell like the difference between like a powder ski, a groomer ski, off terrain, etc. Is because you don't want to look like a doof on the mountain with like your big last name rentals on your skis. Like really, it's like a stylistic thing.
So it's
But
not
like
even a price point thing, right? I mean, like,
well,
because
skis are
don't you
expensive.
pay off? Like, if I were to get some burner skis that were pre-used by somebody else, how much do skis usually? I don't know any of the price points here. I
So
just know
for
I
a
wanna
nice
do it.
pair of skis that isn't going to break the bank, you're probably in the 500 on the low end to like
So much lower than I thought you were about to say.
750 on the upper end. Like, and this is for like a serviceable ski. Like, you can easily burn through $1,000 on skis, but like, I would not recommend that to you or myself.
Should we get some new golf clubs too?
Yeah. This is more my speed, Charlie. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's kind of like the next place that I feel like. I mean, it's a horrible time to create this goal given it's summer just started, but I do think it's like rehab, doing a little bit of stuff to like try and strengthen hamstring, knee stuff, and then I want to learn how to ski. So that's what's coming up next, viewers and listeners.
Let's go. I mean, Charlie, I think we are at time. Let's leave him with that. A little cliffhanger, if you will.
Will he learn?
Yeah, will he learn?
Yeah,
So,
find out in 6 months.
But yeah, I mean, look, I think I speak for our entire listener base. We've loved being on this journey with you. It's been really fun to watch, listen to like your struggles, your trials, your tribulations, your triumphs. I mean, having you finish that marathon, that is no easy feat. It's no small feat. That is epic. That is like a notch on your belt of like things that are dope in life that you accomplished. So congrats and thank you for sharing everything today. Like it's been great. And I mean, can't think of a better pod to have for our first in-person pod.
Yeah,
Let's go.
absolutely. And yeah, I appreciate that. It's finish for me, and it's a finish for all our listeners too. So thanks for joining along in the journey, and I think that'll be it for us today. As always, really appreciate everybody who's listening. If you follow us, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcast, TikTok, Instagram, Vivino, YouTube. We love to see the YouTube activity and engagement. And so, yeah, I mean, we'll find something else that I can do that will inevitably ruin my life over the next couple months, and we'll have another thing to follow along on. And so, appreciate everybody, everyone's support, both to the podcast and the running. And we will talk to you again next week.
We love you guys.
All
Peace.
Right. Bye-bye.